Well, that was kind of stupid of me. I just spent the last half hour recording my 2 cents on the GNARM's Dynamis because, 45 minutes earlier, I'd been in discussion. I'm trying to burn this thing out, get rid of it, because like I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it sitting in the front of my hangar, and like it. They haven't changed anything. The only thing they changed was when they quote unquote rebalanced GNRM's Dynamis, all they did is they just gave. This used to be medium range, which was stupid. Now it's long range, which doesn't help it any because it still, it doesn't knock over, and it doesn't knock over, and it doesn't stun, it doesn't do anything. It's just kind of a long range beam rifle, and there's only two shots, and why I don't know. The rebalance needs to happen here, and they didn't do it. They need to rebalance some stuff here. They didn't do it. So I did this whole thing, and then I was about to put the video together. I was like, wait, I feel like I've said some of this before. It's kind of a deja vu thing. And I realized, oh yeah, I actually did make a video previously, and I already posted it back in October of 2014. So now I've got a half hour, was it 25 half hour footage of GNRM's Dynamis. Maybe I'll repost it in a year and a half or something like that. I don't know when I've completely forgotten that I've actually already done this. So I was like, oh yeah, if I review GNRM's Dynamis. Okay, so and then I was looking on YouTube, and uh, um, one of the person I've been in discussion a couple of days now. If you look at my review of the new HWS, the new Gundam HWS, which is sitting. Where are you sitting? You're sitting right there. Oh yeah, by the way, there's an update. I colored it and I burned it out because it's been neutered. But anyways, talking there about various instances like that, and he said, "Well, what's your opinion of the Freedom Meteor?" Freedom Meteor is, well, it's kind of Freedom Meteor. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's got the infinite boosting, which more than makes up for the fact that it's a paper, and it could spam at long range. It can spam here, it can spam here, and the damage is appropriate. And reload rates here are ridiculous, and that's what it should be, by the way. These homing missiles, you don't have to worry about the homing missiles because basically you start with weapon one, you fire weapon one, then you fire weapon two, and then you go back to one, you go back to two, you go back to one, you go back to two, you just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then occasionally you fire the homing missiles. So freedom, and by the way, this thing behaves exactly the same as the regular S rank. There's your review of Freedom Meteor. It's just it's amazing. Get it? Absolutely. It is worth the effort. There isn't really anything strongly objectionable with Freedom Meteor. And then he mentioned another one, which I've actually had for much longer. He mentioned V2 Buster, which I got before G Generation, or G Revolution as they like to call it, and before I even had the ability to record things. V2 Buster actually it took a bit of convincing to get me into this one. Because it had dumbfire, and it had a scattering beam gun, but I knew that, despite the fact they're kind of the tricky thing about scattering beam guns, which I haven't really gotten into, is the fact that even though they spread out all over the place, each individual beam doesn't have very much power behind it. And I'll get to that later. So, like, it's got these two weapons, and then it had melee and a long range beam rifle. Later on, after I got in the unit, after I started actually liking it and respecting it, it got Weapon 3 in the Purged form, and then just recently they changed the special attack in the Purged form. So, but convincing me to get it was a bit of an uphill battle. And then once I got it, I was like, oh, what do I do with this thing? What am I like? It's got a bunch of dumbfire. Wait until you see this. There's one thing in particular I want you to pay attention to here. A, look how quickly I build. Watch how quickly I build up my SP, and B, look at those reload rates. And keep in mind that this is an S rank. Okay, this is an S rank unit, and watch how quickly I build up my SP. Okay, long shot, blah blah blah, whatever. Okay. Now, of course, these guys take reduced damage from long range, and they don't knock over from. And by the way, Weapon 3 is a knockdown, so Now, these are dumbfire weapons, okay? Reloads, not bad. It's also stationary to fire. If you hold the button all the time, okay. But that's not what I want you to see. Okay. Oh, and by the way, these do have splash damage. In just 2 volleys on a C-rank, I already have my reload up. And ironically, it takes 3 volleys to kill a C-rank. Think about that. 3 volleys of dumbfire. The reason for that is because see, 2 volleys drops it down, and then the 3rd volley should kill it. I think I might have missed one of them. Anyways, average person uses a scattering beam gun. They treat it like an ordinary beam rifle. Just, oh crap, why are these beams all over the place? Because those beams really don't really do a heck of a lot. I'm actually getting 2 beams on there at once. There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know, it's just barely going down. The secret to using a scattering beam gun, I don't know, should I be revealing this or not? The secret to a scattering beam gun, and to be fair, V2 Buster has one of the widest arcs of a scattering beam gun I've ever seen. Thank God you can move when shooting it. The secret to a scattering beam gun is never treat it like a regular beam rifle. The idea, what you want to do, you want to get as close to the target as possible. You want to get, like, those individual beams, they're going to do crap. Okay? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I'm actually getting, what, 3 shots on there at one time? That was 6 shots to drop it down that much. Well, if I get real close, bam! Five shots at point-blank range. You don't need a scattering effect, or you don't need a, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't need a penetrating shot. There it is right there. 6 shots on the dom on the right. Okay, six volleys. And that's how much one beam does. Wait till you get real close. Watch what happens. Now, V2 Buster is kind of awesome the way it is right here. Okay, it's amazing. However, it has a purging mode, so be very careful, because once you purge, you can't go back, so just be aware of that. 3-hit KD. Oh look, I got a reload up on weapon 1, yay. That's something that they added after I got this. Sorry, I got distracted by something offline. It's weird, I hit him 3 times. Oh, they changed the reload type, I forgot about that. Previously, the beam cannon, it was 3 shots, and none of them knocked down, and it was stationary fire, but now it's stationary fire, and they changed it from a magazine reloading rate to a gradual reload, so I actually forgot about that. So, okay, what's the new... Let's get rid of these guys. 1, 2, 3... 3 shots, 4 with patience. Actually, it's just 4. Okay, 4 shots. 4 shots with a reload rate that fast. That's pretty darn amazing. This was kind of the only version of the V2 Gundam that we've had. There is now a standard S rank of V2 Gundam it's a multi-mode unit. Actually, it's not too dissimilar in its performance to the V2 Assault Gundam. They're not too dissimilar to each other, although it has a different kind of spec on it. I forgot about that weapon 2 thing. And by the way, that's not a combo attack on weapon 1, it's just a dash, so you just need to click once and then it'll go. I'm going to be doing mobility right now, but keep in mind, I've already, had time to play around with this and make modifications. So I've got the 10% booster extension on there. So that'll affect things a little bit here. But booster extension, 10% isn't very much. It's still only going to go about halfway. So it's still very much paper in everything it does. So that's kind of the one disadvantage to using this thing. Although ironically, this actually can, in my experience, this thing actually can fend off. And it doesn't happen very often. This, the Buster mode, the normal mode here, you actually can fend off melee, because the secret to V2 Buster is that when it's in this mode here, the closer you get, the more damage it does to you. So for this mode, that's for kind of softening them up, and then the closer they get to you, they just start getting more and more beams packed onto them, and then when they finally get close enough to you, you just open up with those dumbfire right in their face. Oops, I totally did that wrong. Boost duration is identical. Of course, you can extend your boost duration with that dash if you wish. So I don't know how far I can reach. It's ironic. Despite the fact that this has a reload up on it, the reload rate on Weapon 3 is kind of identical to what you would ordinarily have for an equivalent weapon. Let's see, how's this work with the dash? And that, by the way, that's with the 10% booster added on top of that. So you actually can, it kind of balances out. That's assuming that A, you've got the 10% custom part on it, and you're also using this dash attack on there. I don't use this very often, but it is pretty darn powerful. It's pretty darn powerful in both modes, by the way. Generally speaking, I try to avoid purging units, or I'll avoid purging at least, because this mode is powerful enough. Why would I want to purge it into a lesser mode where usually the defense drops, or usually it has a tendency to gain agility, which I don't really notice. So purging units I kind of avoid, and like I said earlier, sorry, I got distracted. I have a tendency to avoid purging units, and it did take a degree of convincing to convince me that this is actually a good unit to get. Like, Ava, this thing's right up your alley. Got a little bit of a British accent there. Oh my god, this thing is so worth it, folks. It's so worth it. It's secretly awesome, and I don't think Softmax has realized what kind of a monster this is. I don't really have to haw and hum about the recommendations. I've pretty much said that the kinds of damage you can do with this thing, you don't have to worry about attack up. You really don't. Because, like I said, it gets more dangerous the closer you are to a target. As a matter of fact, I consider the V2 Buster, when tanky units were a thing, I consider V2 Buster to be a tank killer. It can deal with those big units. It can deal with their well, like I said back in the day, when it was still paper, rock, scissors, they can deal with they can deal with those eye fields because it's got so many beams pointed at you with the scattering beam gun. You don't have to worry about eye fields. It just erases, or it doesn't erase them, but it just goes right through them. It doesn't matter. Not penetrating, but it does so much damage that the whole eye field reducing the amount of beam damage is basically negated by this thing. You're actually doing more damage than your average beam rifle if it didn't have a beam shield at all of any kind. So this thing's amazing. And yes, that also applies to GN fields or eye fields that can be broken, all-around shields. This beam spray, it's amazing. And the same thing with the micro missile pod, just done. Their shield is gone in 2 volleys. You don't even have to question it. And a long-range beam cannon that knocks down, you don't have to worry about anything. So it's really amazing in this mode. You don't have to worry about DPS. You really don't. And for people who say, oh, I just want to increase my damage, you don't have to. This is one of those units you don't have to worry about that. Same thing in this mode here. If the only damage you'd have to worry about is here, and honestly, you're so far away, it's a long-range weapon, you don't have to worry about it. You're never going to see them. And if you do see them, you've got that and you've got that. Honestly, this mode alone outweighs the Tallgeese 3. They really need to update Tallgeese 3. I mean, they really do. So, attack type, you don't need to, because it's already amazing the way it is. Now, that doesn't mean that people aren't going to try and come run for you. So, and you also have a lower boost duration, which is really annoying. So, my typical thing, I increase the boost duration, and because they become more, because this thing becomes more dangerous the closer you get to it. You basically make them suffer in order to get to you. And like I said, this kind of secretly awesome unit, and I don't think Softmax realized what kind of monster they had. But so I increased the HP, and then I increased the defense because I want this thing to last as long as possible. If you actually can, I think it's a more skilled player than me, and this is why I don't use it very often. A more skilled player than me can get up close and personal. This is basically a melee unit without a beam saber. That's kind of what this thing is. It can deal close range. It can deal heavy close range damage. This actually allows for a wide. This allows for two kinds of things. You can kill tanks and you can kill melee users. They just get more and more frustrated because the closer they try to get to you, the more it hurts, which is kind of the amazing thing about it. And you haven't even pulled out your beam saber yet. You want to pull out your beam saber? Well, that's all well and good. That's a choice, but you don't have to with this unit. That's kind of the beauty of it. So I made it as tanky as I possibly could. This and the booster reduction, that's kind of a must because booster ration on its, even when you purge it, the booster ration isn't that good, as you saw. So yeah, I did that. And by the way, that was even with this dash booster reduction thing. You know, you're gaining 10% of your total boost pool. You're still not getting that much boost out of it. It's still an S rank paper. And then I've got the 15% defense up. And then I've got it at EX, which is a story in and of itself. I might as well tell it because OG Planet did a patch a number of months ago. I can't remember how long ago it was. But it was in late 2014, and in one of the patches, for whatever reason, the V2 Buster glitched. So if you selected it in your hangar, you could look at it. You could just click once on it just to look at the information. Okay, whatever. But if you selected it, if you launched with it, then you would get a ZOA, and it every time, which makes your game crash. And then when you tried to log back in, it would just keep crashing over and over and over. And so people with V2 Busters who had selected them, and this was all over the forums, by the way. This problem, they fixed it a couple of days later, whatever it was. It was really annoying, and it just, why would you do that? And you couldn't even use any other units. So basically, if you wrote to Softmax, you say, hey, I selected a V2 Buster, can you please do something about this? Softmax deleted the V2 Buster from your account. They told you this, and then they said, we'll give you back the unit when the glitch has been fixed. So anyways, mine was level 12. Actually, I thought it was level 11, something like that. Level 12. Like, I love the hell out of this thing. And they gave it back to me, and I had to repaint it. I had to do the stickers all over again. I'll just go over that again. And 2. And 3. So, and same there. And then I had to redeco it. There's all the white bits, there's the blue bits, the yellow, the red, and the shoulders for some reason. Oh, and then the head. Whatever. Okay, so I had to redeco it. But then, turns out when I got it back, they gave it back to me at EX. And that was with all the V2 Busters, with the people who had been inconvenienced, which was a hell of a thing. I actually mentioned it in another review that I did, another video review I did previously. I was not expecting a compensation, but hey, I can live with that. So thank you, OGP. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So it's at EX, and I figured, why the hell not? Your defense goes up by 2%. Yeah, that's really going to help. But shield durability increases by 300, which is ironic because this unit doesn't have shields on it. That's kind of the one flaw. That's kind of the one weakness to it, but that's okay. And then the shield HP goes up by 200. And additional points for victory. So that's why I put that on there. I don't really need to do this, but it just seemed like additional points for victory, and I get an HP up more so than I usually do, and I'm getting I don't know what unit defense increases by 2 points. I don't get that. So yeah, that's the arrangement I've got there. Combine. If I ever wanted to go through the effort of making another one of these, absolutely I'd combine it. Would I put 2 of them on one battleship? I don't do tag and grid very much, so there's not much point to me discussing that. But I love this enough. Like, yeah, absolutely, I would absolutely combine it, even though it's at EX, and you just kind of stop playing with EX units eventually. Grow unit, it's already EX. Expansion, it's already there. Actually, they gave me the expansion, I think. I don't remember. It's been long enough. This reload up, even without the reload up, this is pretty doggone amazing. So why this has a reload up, and like I said, I don't want Softmax to know about this. This is actually a case where reload up makes a unit amazing, but it doesn't make it overpowered. This is a paper that kind of gets its revenge on rocks. And you know me, I bitch and moan about close range units all the time. This skill and this unit, these kinds. Like I said, it took a bit of convincing to say, Ava, this works. And this was 2 years ago when I got this thing. It took a while to convince me, but once I realized that, this becomes an excellent counter to papers. Or I'm sorry, yeah, it is a this is a monster to melee units. It really is, and a good portion of that, I'll say at least half of that, is due to this reload up. I hope Softmax never removes it because it needs this. Increase movement speed. It walks faster, no big deal. Dash speed, okay. Agility, don't notice it. Attack, yes. Defense, yes. Search distance, don't care. Display opponents on radar, don't care. So stand up to the victory buster, by the way. There's a stand up to the victory assault, and there's a stand up to the victory assault buster. Each of them does different things. This one doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot. It just kind of makes what's there already awesome. Honestly, I don't even pay attention to this skill. It activates and it just kind of does some stuff. I'm like, okay, whatever. This unit is amazing the way it is, and I usually don't gush. It's a very unorthodox weapon arrangement: dumbfire, scattering beam gun, long range beam cannon. But it's the reload rates that make the difference. It's the amount of damage that each of these does that makes the difference. The wings of light, they added that afterwards, and then I want to say a number of months after that. The only reason the Wings of Light is here is because the the V2 Gundam, without the Buster parts, when it's Purge. Come on, Purge. Okay, we're gonna do that, and I can't turn this all of a sudden. The only reason this dash is here is because they hadn't made a standard V2 Gundam. Why it is they didn't do that for like 5 years or whatever in Korea, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But the point is that's why the dash is here. Should it still be on here? Sure, why not? Because you're getting rid of the Buster components. You're getting rid of these things. So it essentially is the normal V2 Buster. It is essentially the normal V2 Gundam at this point. So really nothing to complain about there. It should have the Wings of Light feature there. And then it's got a nice little. So yeah, just gush, 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 gush. What's that one phrase? Sploosh. I don't use this very often, but it's amazing enough that I don't have to use it. I think this is one of my battleships, actually, now that I think about it. I've got this teamed up with something else. I can't remember what. But yeah, V2 Buster is amazing. Strongly recommended. And it's not difficult to get, as I remember. Of course, I can't look at the wiki right now, but I can look fast enough. Let's see. V-Gundam, which, by the way, that's another awesome one. Victory Gundam, no one cares. Get it, Gundam, Jagan, and Xeno. So it's very easy to make. It's very, very easy. V- is amazing. If you can get one of those, get it, absolutely. The others don't matter. And by the way, Victory Gundam is an A rank version of the regular Gundam, which is a B rank version of the Jagan. And the Xeno fits in there somehow, I don't know. So there's a progression of awesomeness here, even though, this, and this, not really awesome. But the V- absolutely. But you get to keep a really awesome unit as the key unit for a unit that's also really awesome. V2 Assault Gundam, I've got issues with it. V2 Assault Buster, I've got issues with it. But the V2 Buster, absolutely. Absolutely. Get it. Oh, by the way, there's the V- right there. That thing's amazing. Get this. Highly recommended. This is Ava Unit 4A saying thanks for tuning in.